afternoon, and hopefully you learn a little bit more about the East Wilson African American Historic District and its shotgun houses. No. Anne, can you let me share my screen, please? Yes, thank you. Just one moment, please. Okay, so we're ready to get started. So hello, I'm a student at UNCG, and that's in Greensboro in the Department of Interior Architecture, and I completed my thesis on the shotgun houses in the East Wilson Historic District. So this afternoon, I'm going to be taking y'all through kind of an order of the last 40 years of what has happened to the shotgun houses in East Wilson, and kind of what my goals and hopes are for the future of the shotgun houses. So the title of my presentation is Tracing Changes and Revealing Culture, a study on the shotgun houses in the East Wilson Historic District. And the district was nominated in 1988, and I did a lot of my research in the spring and summer 2019. Okay, wonderful. So shotgun houses are the most widely acknowledged expression of African American architecture in the United States. They are New World structures rooted in African architecture. And what's so apparent about the shotgun house is they kind of migrated here through way of the Caribbeans, through New Orleans, and then they kind of progressed throughout the United States. So you see a lot of shotgun houses, again, in New Orleans, and also in North Carolina. We have some in the Charlotte area, but the most predominantly ones was in the East Wilson Historic District. And it's very cool to say because they're very small structural houses, and they don't have a lot of room or privacy, but they were great for African Americans living within the in the tobacco industry, living within East Wilson. And this is kind of like a diagram if you don't know what a shotgun house is. So a shotgun house is the front door and the back door lined up, and it's from room to room. So it's originally they did not have an interior hallway. Each room you will progress through the house room by room with one door. And so this is kind of a migration showing the interior floor plan of a shotgun house. And this district was nominated in 1988. At that time, you can see this photo was taken during that nomination, and you can see the livelihood of the shotgun houses. It was very porch presence within the African Americans who lived in this district. They would go outside their front porch and talk to friends and family members. And so the front porch and the shotgun's house shape and form was very predominant within the East Wilson Historic District. And this is kind of a map showing the migration. So again, it originated in Africa. You will see on the next slide, kind of the rural Haiti houses. So it originated in Africa, through the Caribbean, and then it kind of migrated here through New Orleans. And that's what kind of the first shotgun houses were seen in New Orleans. And then after that, they kind of migrated within the African-American population for different uses of workmen's housings. Okay, so this is some images from Haiti. You can see they have the very similar house form. As you see on my left, you can see kind of just the two rooms, the interior floor plan. So very similar to the shotgun houses that was in East Wilson and when they were built in around 1910. And so you see the floor plan, either 2 or 3 rooms right behind each other without the use of a hallway, and not a lot of privacy, but at that time period, they were great for people working in East Wilson and also living there. So you see a progression. This is a slide from 1908, and it's a bird's eye view. So the railroad track separated East Woodson from White Woodson, and it was termed that at that time. And you can see within the red blocks, the migration of the shotgun houses. Some originated between 1910 and 1930. Others are later built. So you can see within the East Woodson district, how these pockets of shotgun houses kind of emerged for the workers who lived there. Okay, so this is a really great view of a Sanborn map. So Sanborn maps or historic maps that kind of show the migration of different buildings and structures over time. So the 1913 map is going to be on my left here. You can see that it's some shotgun houses, but they really emerged in 1922. So all kind of those like yellow rectangular kind of parcels are the emergence of the shotgun houses. So you can really tell, and within a short time frame, that the need for this type of house style was very much needed within East Wilson. And this also an image that I wanted to show. This is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So just to also tell that even though East Woodson had the most predominantly within North Carolina at that time, they also emerged in Charlotte and the Raleigh area too. Again, a lot of times you would see them kind of separating the railroad track from the African-American side versus the white side. This is also showing the shotgun houses within a narrow housing, very close together for the African Americans who lived and worked in that district. Okay, so we're going to talk about now. We're going to focus on the East Woodson district. So again, it was nominated in 1988 on the National Register of Historic Places. And so at that time, Robert Manson, he went around and looked at the different architectural houses within East Woodson. And even though there were other house styles, the shotgun houses you can see was the most predominant. So at that time, it was 301 shotgun houses. When he went kind of door to door or walked at that time, the unpaved roads of the shotgun houses, and it was 301. They did have saddlebag housing, and they had ranch style, queen inn, and bungalow. But as you can tell, the shotgun houses were the most predominant during that time. Okay, so you can see as the image kind of moves to the side, kind of how at that time it was the roads were not paved. And you can see the shotgun houses both on the left and the right side. And so I just want to say this quote that he kind of mentioned as he studied these houses. This study concerns the cultural landscape of one of the Pacific urban Black communities in the South, East Woodson, North Carolina. It explores the architectural fabric and land use patterns that historically distinguish this community and attempts to shed the light on the roles that Blacks played as well as whites. So it's amazing for me being from Woodson, didn't know this knowledge or education that this district was a great source of the shotgun houses and the community members who lived in that house. So after I gained this knowledge and under my thesis advisor, I wanted to kind of dive deep and understand, okay, so what has happened to the shotgun houses over this 40-year time period? Because again, as you go right around through East Woodson, you don't see 301 shotgun houses anymore, correct? So we're trying to understand exactly what changes throughout the time period has happened. And so this is some of the questions that arose as I started thinking about my thesis. So the first one is, how has the visual character of the shotgun houses changed since 1988? What are the visible physical characters? So when you look at a shotgun house, from the exterior, has the porch changed? Has the siding changed? Like what changes over time within the shotgun house in itself has changed? And also, how has the ownership changed within the shotgun houses? And also, I interviewed a couple of current residents who live in the shotgun houses to get their take on how did they grow up within the house and their community, and what did that really help they contributed to their environment and help them grow as a person. So I got really good feedback and stories about how even though they were very small houses, and to be quite honest, maybe on the poor side of Woodson, that was very happy and vibrant and loved their small house. And so that goes back to how can we make these small houses more affordable housing now for the populations growing up. Okay, So just kind of a step-by-step kind of what I did. So the first step was I generated a database. So the remaining 90 houses that are currently in East Wilson, I did a kind of a field survey. So kind of what in 1988, what he did, I did that again with the 90 houses that I looked at. And so as we go through the presentation, you will understand exactly what I saw, and you can see the changes that has happened over time. And then I also kind of mapped where the current shotgun houses are, the infill houses, and then the demolitions. So within a large district as a whole, where are pockets that things have been demolished or infill, or overall, where are the current shotgun houses currently standing now? And I did conduct some oral interviews, and I can show you how that progress went as well. I conducted some oral interviews, and then and my step 3 was I got some archival photos for the State History Preservation Office. So the same photos that Manson took in 1988, I went back in the same orientation and took the same kind of orientation of that shot to understand within that small like streetscape or landscape what has changed. And then as I stated earlier, I conducted 4 oral interviews. So over time, you will see as the PowerPoint progresses, different GIS mapping systems that you will kind of understand what has happened throughout this time period. And so this is historic property field data form. And so what this is, it's kind of similar to what he had when you go throughout the house and you're trying to document exactly what you're seeing. So you want to document material integrity. And that means, okay, so if they had wood clapboard boards prior, or the existing material still on the house, or have they changed? Is it now vinyl siding? Was it a wood panel historic door originally, or has it changed to another type of door? So you really have to get out your car and walk the streets of East Wilson, which I did many days, and try to really get in these details of what has changed over time. And then from that, you also look at the condition. So is it a good condition house? Is it almost falling apart? So you're just trying to understand what is currently happening now. And so these are kind of some snapshots within the East Wilson district that kind of stuck out to me. So the first picture, the blue house, that is in good condition and the material integrity is high. And that means that it still has its wood clapboards. It still has the original wood windows. So it still has those existing original features that the shotgun house had when it was originally built in 1910. As you come down to the bottom picture, you can see, okay, some modifications have happened, correct? So it's kind of medium integrity, but it's still in fair condition. So the condition and the integrity do not go hand in hand. You can have a house with high integrity and being low, not in good condition, or vice versa. So I try to set the standard of when I'm looking at the houses, what would be high material integrity versus low, and what would be a good condition versus ruinous condition. So these are just 2 pictures that kind of state exactly what I looked at when I was going through. And see the next image, you see the front image, that is high material integrity, but you can tell by looking at it, it's not in the best condition. So again, the conditions and the material integrity kind of do not go hand in hand. So you just have to understand exactly what's happening. And this little cute house at the bottom looks very sad, but overall, it still has this wood clapboards. It still has the integrity of the house. And if somebody will come and give it some love and care, it would be fixed and ready for somebody to live in no time. So again, without looking through the shotgun houses, that's what I saw a lot. They still have great bones and structure. It still has the form and function of a shotgun house, but over time, we didn't give it any love. So therefore, if somebody would come in and step in and nurture and bring it back to life, then it would be a great house for a family. Okay, so I mapped these things, right? So I went with my pad and pencil, and then I started looking at patterns and looking at things. So overall, of the 90 shotgun houses that I looked at, 71% have the high integrity. So that says, okay, so within the district, 71% of these houses still have the original materials. They still have the same form and function of a shotgun house. So, okay, so what can we do to try to make it so these houses are livable again? So this is very good because and it also takes you back to why was something demolished? If this was the case for the 90, the 70%, then what was the condition of the 200 that has been demolished over the last 40 years? And it gets you back to thinking of why was this house type not saved or not important to the individuals in Wilson, North Carolina? Okay, so then I mapped. So you can see here, if you can call out, I called out Pender Street and Hines Street and Carolina Street. And so this is kind of the whole map of East Wilson. So the green is the high integrity. And you can see on the GIS mapping system that a lot of these houses occur in clusters. So the high integrity houses are in a cluster, kind of the medium integrity houses are in a cluster. So that started showing patterns. Are the same homeowners owning these houses? Like, what is the difference? Is not a lot of investment beginning in one area versus another. So you start kind of seeing patterns within the East Wilson district within the shotgun houses. And then the two black dots are the non-contributing. And that says when the nomination was written in 1988, so much change had already occurred that it was not historic significant to this district. So I kind of eliminated those from the GIS mapping system. That's why they're in black. But this map really shows that within East Wilson, a lot of these houses have high integrity and over time can be saved. And then again, I looked at the conditions. So 46, 51% are in good condition. And that's just meaning, okay, maybe they don't need a lot of love and care, just some, right? So when you're walking around, even though it might look like this not inhabitable or nobody can live there, if somebody would try to make it so they can, then the bones and structure is still there. And so you can see here, it's only 1% is the ruins condition, and that's kind of the little house I showed you earlier that looked very sad. So if you just walk around the district, you will see, even though from the visible eye, they might not look like anything, if you go inside and look, and they can still be revived and rehabbed. And so again, I mapped these out in the district. So you can see the good houses are in clusters, the fair houses are in clusters. And so it just gets back to thinking, or within different areas of East Wilson, was reinvestment done to one area which was not, or has certain homeowners kept their rental properties up for their tenants or not? So this kind of made me thinking, okay, so what is the correlation between material integrity and condition and then occupancy? So the next slide, you will see kind of how the material integrity and condition and then the occupancy kind of trundles over. So here you can see that within the shotgun houses, these are amount that are occupied, so maybe like a handful or vacant. Right. So right now within East Wilson, these shotgun houses are living in, people are taking care of their homes. And so with a few vacant ones, that can be the same story. So the shotgun house still is a viable small home that can be great for families, especially affordable housing. And I read an article one time that said that the current house that's currently standing now is great for rehab and great for the affordable housing solutions. So instead of tearing these houses down and building infill and new builds, is to rehab or restore the current housing stock for the affordable people who might not have the best means necessary to live in a home or to live in a certain type of home. Okay, so I also looked at the exterior wall material. So as I stated earlier, the original was wood clapboard. So over time, that can be changed to vinyl or aluminum siding. And so I'll kind of map these throughout the district. And in 1988, most was wood clapboard. Only like a couple was aluminum. So I took that information and that number and try to correlate it to, okay, so what has changed over time with the exterior siding? Has it stayed wood clapboard or has it changed? And ironically, a lot of the houses have sustained in their wood clapboard exterior material. So you can see here in the next slide, within 2019, it's wood clapboard and also vinyl. So that's kind of neck and neck within the 2019, looking at the exterior of the house. So a lot of changes have within the exterior material. The wood clapboards have stayed, but the vinyl has been on a rise. And I'm sure that comes with rehabs, replacing the original windows with vinyl windows, and also exchanging the exterior material with vinyl. So you can see here that it kind of again occurs in clusters, right? So this also says is different areas have not been rehabbed and they still have the original materials, or when you're rehabbing, or you're not thinking about the historic significance of the existing materials and you just do an uplift and forget about what was there. And so within preservation, our goal is to save the original materials and keep that intact. So as we're moving forward, you will also see other different correlations to where this reinvestment happened versus property owners, and then also versus the property values within East Wilson as well. Okay, so my second thing was I mapped the vacant, the demolition, and infill patterns within East Wilson. And so that's just saying, okay, looking at the district as a whole and broad, what areas were demolished, infill housing, so they demolished the housing and then built infill housing over time. And so the next map just shows an overall view of demolitions in general in East Wilson. So not just within the shotgun houses, it's within the whole East Wilson district. So it's also including those bungalow houses, the Queen Anne, all the housing type at that time period. So you can see over time, a lot of demolitions have occurred, not within the shotgun houses, but overall it's all the architecture housing type that was developed in when it was originally built. And so this map shows you the remaining 90 houses within the East Wilson district. So again, they do occur in clusters. So it's nice to see that when you do ride down the street of East Wilson, you do see shotgun houses on your left and your right. You do still see those pockets of shotgun houses together. So the green represents the houses now, and then the two black were those two that I kind of pulled out because that was not contributing at that time in 1988. So you can see overall there is a lot of clusters of the shotgun houses that you still have that kind of streetscape and landscape that Matson saw in 1988 still exists. Okay, and so the orientation might be a little off, but you can see here, the red are the demolitions, and then you have the gray are the current housings in 1988. In 1988 within the shotgun houses. So all the gray are all the shotgun houses overall in 1988, and then the red dots are the ones that's been demolished. So a lot of houses, 200 exactly, have been demolished of the shotgun houses since 1988. And so this was very, I guess, troubling to me when I first understood this information and started doing this mapping system. Is okay, so it could be good or bad. It's a good thing if they was doing infill lots for different things, but if the housing integrity and the original materials were there, it was no need for these houses to be demolished. They could have been uplift or gave it maybe a fresh coat of paint, or something could have happened for these houses to still be a part of the Wilson architecture house type now. And I also saw that with where we have the Freeman houses that's on Hines Street, that within this yellow kind of cluster, that was where the most houses were demolished. And that's now the Freeman phase 1 and phase 2, between Pender and Hines, where those houses have been demolished. And so you can really tell that in a concentrated area within a certain period of time, it seems like they did a whole like wipeout. And then all those houses within that time, within that framework, were demolished, and then they started building new houses. And so this becomes a problem because when you're looking at a historic district, the streetscape tells a story. So if those houses are demolished now and new infill that doesn't resemble or look like the current housing stock, it is not compatible. So it's infill, there are nice houses, but it's not compatible with the existing housing stock there that was originally built between 1910 and 1945. And then, so this is looking at the property values of within East Wilson. And so the small dots represent the housing between 7 and 13,000. And as you get larger, that represents the housing. So you can also tell that's also in clusters, correct? You see right here along in this area where these houses have very low property value. And then when you get to these areas, the property value is high. So then it goes back to why not investments being given into certain areas within East Wilson? Okay, so why not invest here and all the investment is in this area or in this area? So it tells a story of what has happened over time where no investments was given to a particular area. What was that cause? Was it certain renter people who own the properties didn't want to update their house, or the tenants who lived there was okay with the condition of the home? So it kind of starts telling the story of, okay, so when you look at this broader picture, it's a lot of disinvestment in areas and more investment in others. So how can we get the small dots here to look like these dots where the same investment and money are going throughout the whole East Wilson district and not in like little pockets? And then if you correlate, I just want to flip back and forth. If you will correlate the property values of the remaining shotgun houses to the owners who own them, and I just want to say too, within the past 40 years, only one shotgun house has been owner occupied. All these houses have been rental properties for the past 40 years when they was originally built for the African Americans living in the tobacco industry, right? And that should ring alarm bells, correct? So what is the problem? Or are we not trying to support the people who live in this area for home ownership? Because they say when you own your home, you take better care of it, right? You want to love and make sure your house is pretty as somebody on the next street or beside you. So what is the problem with, again, the disinvestment within the district, these very small kind of green dots? And then you see here, you have the same owners, right? In these areas. So right here, when I showed you the disinvestment, it's owned by the same person. So are we not, as a whole of Wilson, are we not doing anything to the landlords who own these properties? Are we not demanding or saying, okay, you should make sure that the housing that you're providing to your tenants are in a good condition or livable and habitable? So it also says a lot about Wilson. Like, what are we doing as a whole to make sure that each person is living their best life or trying to live to a certain standard that you want to live in the area where the purple is what was a lot with the large green dots versus this person down here. And it's not a lot of streets from this area from here. So what is wrong, right? So just this thesis really helped me open my eyes to see what areas get investment, and then overall, what areas are not getting investment. And maybe over time, as I start showing this presentation and people start realizing that a change could occur, because that's the reason, right? To show you the information, and then from that, have a change occur from the information that you're receiving. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving forward. Okay, so then step 3 was I conducted a visual analysis. So I took the 1988 photos that I got from the State Historic Preservation Office, and I compared them to the 2019 photos that I've taken. And so you can see that over time, some infill has happened, but a lot of these houses are still there. Some are vacant, but they can be revived and be a nice home for a family. So you see here, 1988, you see that black and white image. So you see a lot of presence on the porch, still small, narrow shotgun houses on the street. And then you see in 2019, this same house is still this house. So it's still there. And that was the only house in the district that was owner occupied within this past 40 years. Okay. And then you see an infill here because it was a house here, but now it's a truck park. And then beside that, you see the house boarded up. So when you see boarded up windows, it's a key indicator that the property is vacant and nobody's staying in there. So the shotgun houses are still there, but the livelihood of them has changed significantly. Okay. And then you see this, right? So the shotgun houses are still there. They still have the same, their material integrity is still high. They kind of look identical other than one's black and white and one's colored, correct? You can still see the same form and function. Some of the wood posts and things have been changed over time. They didn't have it then, but overall, you can still say, okay, this shotgun house has high integrity. If somebody would move in and make it their home, it can be a great asset to the Wilson community. You can still see here that the windows are boarded up, so they're currently vacant. But in 1988, it was people was on their front porches. You see the swing and the chairs. So these houses were very vibrant in the community. People loved them, they lived in them. And so what has changed? Why now is all of these in these 3 rows vacant and nobody hasn't gave me any attention, right? Is there a certain homeowner who owns all these houses and they're kind of not trying to do anything with it? So over time, you can really tell that things have changed, but what is the reason for that change? And then here, okay, so this is kind of before and after. So you see these 3 very nice shotgun houses side by side. And then in 2019, it's a vacant lot. They're gone, right? So you see somebody using it as a kind of like a parking lot for their vehicles. So of course that landscape has changed. The streetscape has changed. It's like dramatic, right? So it's like, okay, so why did this happen? Why in this picture, there was livable, vibrant houses. And then in this picture, it's nothing there. So over time, was it disinvestment? And they decided, okay, let's tear these houses down. Because, and then on top of that, they didn't build any, if that was the case, no infill was built for the people of East Wilson to keep the housing going, right? So that's also an issue. And then here you see very cute, colorful shotgun houses. In the 1988 picture and the 2019 picture, they're still there and they still have their vibrant colors. You can tell some of the materials has changed over time, but overall, they still has the shotgun houses side by side on their streetscapes. That has not changed over time. And then it also raises the question, why was certain areas kept and certain areas not? So what decisions were made to demolish whole blocks of shotgun houses for infill or not? And why was some kept within over the last 40 years? And then my next, my step 4 was conducting those oral interviews. And so I'm just gonna run through, as you look on the screen, some of the questions that I asked these residents or the people who used to live in East Wilson, but then they might live other places. Why was your shotgun house in the East Wilson community important to you? So I just want to highlight 2 questions in red. So one of the questions was, what are your fondest memories? When I talked to a lot of people, they talked about sharing rooms with their siblings, because again, it was either 2 or 3 rooms. So normally the front room was the living room, so living room, bedroom, and then kitchen. And then the bath was, at that time when it was built, was outside, and then later that bathroom addition came. But a lot of times they said that they had to share rooms with their siblings, but their mom and dad lived in the front room, and then their siblings and them lived in that second room. So no privacy, very close-knit type of family, but they enjoy that, right? Even though they might have felt that it wasn't a lot of investment, they have very great childhoods, even though they might not have been in the most successful or had the most money. So again, the shotgun houses were very good to them, to go outside and see neighbors. They were so narrow, you can probably holler out your window and talk to your neighbor, right? So it's great to have kind of that livelihood, to have that sense of place. And that's what has happened over time. That sense of place has been removed, right? Because now a lot of people don't sit on their front porches. A lot of people go in the house and close their doors. So that sense of place within the East Wilson community has really changed dramatically over these past 40 years. And then just other questions, like on a day-to-day basis, what space that you love. A lot of people said the kitchen was the heart of their home. A lot of people said the front porch because that's where they could like get out and kind of breathe. It was so tight in the house. The front porch was an area where they could actually, I guess, be themselves. They didn't feel so contained. So that was one of the kitchen and the front porch. And so some of these questions has had me understand, okay, as an interior standpoint, how did you use your space? Like, where did you sleep? Where did your mom sleep? Or what other activities happen? So I got a lot of feedback, and I have one slide at the end to kind of show you what one gentleman said. So just trying to understand within this small housing type, how did they live? And then one question that stood out to me was, what's most significant about the East Woodson neighborhood? And a lot of people said it's because it's that's where they live. They went to work and they came back and they had their family and friends there. So it was good to have that close-knit community. It was great for them to come home and sit on their front porch and socialize about whatever they did throughout that workday. So the sense of community was very large or very prominent within the East Woodson Historic District. And again, when you ride through these towns, these kind of streets now, sometimes they're there, but for the most part, that has been changed. And Mr. Austin, he lived on Ash Street. Right now, he currently left, but he did live there at the time when I did his interview. And he was a third generation East Woodson resident, and he said that knowledge is powerful, but knowledge without knowing your heritage is crippling. I am proud to live on the East Side. African Americans worked hard to become something. This is our heritage. So this was very powerful to me because even though they lived in these small two-room houses, they were proud of themselves. They were proud to live on the East Side of Woodson. They did things as families, as a connected group, and they was excited to live amongst their peers, to go to work, and they might work on the white side, on the other side of the track in the white homes. When they came home on the East Side, they felt a sense of peace and they was happy to be home. Okay. So then you say, okay, Monica, so what's the reason for all of this, right? Like, why should we revive these shotgun houses? Why should we try to figure out if one's vacant? And if it is, how can you buy it, right? So you're just trying to understand, okay, what is going to be the turnaround? So these are kind of some precedents that I have found over time that you can see that, again, their shotgun houses was not in the best condition, but they revived them. And with it kind of did a sense of community. So this is a town in Covington, Kentucky. And so you can see here, some of the houses have been revived. This one is still kind of vacant or under repair. And so over time, one by one, they started reviving these shotgun houses. And then this is the community they have now, right? On the other side, they have a community garden with chickens. They have a presence. So therefore, like if you concerned about crime, if you create a presence in the neighborhood, the crime is going to go down because people are there. More crimes happen when things are vacant or visibility is not being seen. But you can see people are walking around, they're enjoying their neighborhoods. So this is kind of what my goal within the shotgun house community can be brought back to. It can be brought back to that lifestyle of friends and family congregating on the front porch, people looking out for one another and not feeling scared to live in a certain area of the East Woodson neighborhood. This is just another image of the same kind of community. Very nice shotgun houses now, and kids are out there playing. And so it's really important to save the remaining stock of the shotgun houses for affordable housing solutions, and also to create a presence and to bring back the sense of community that has been lost for those past 40 years. Okay, so this is my thesis committee, and that's all. So if you have any questions for me, please put them in the chat, and Anna and I will go through them. Thank you for your time.
And if any of y'all have questions, I'll type them in the chat.
Any questions? No. Okay. Oh, Alicia said, wonderful presentation. Excellent research and presentation. Thank you both. Yes.
Thank you. People online want to understand about your idea about self-success.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay. So, oh, great. Okay. So, I bought 5 to 7 shotgun houses in the East Wilson district, and my goal is to use historic tax credits. And that is that I know a lot of people are from Wilson, so they go around other areas of Wilson. They see the shotgun houses, but they have lost their material integrity. So either they have been replaced with their exterior material has been replaced with vinyl siding and different things like that. So my goal is to have the original existing material stay intact. So that's the wood clapboards, the original wood windows, the original doors. A lot of my homes, I found the tongue and groove flooring kind of underneath the later changes, and also the beadboard ceiling. And so within the historic tax credits, there will be rental properties for the first 5 years for the tax credits. But my goal is for these houses to become owner occupied. And again, as I stated, to have a presence of owner occupied or have people living in houses, that's really going to change the neighborhood around and make it so people are more proud of living in the house. So hopefully within that after that 5-year period, more people in East Wilson will want to stay in one of these shotgun houses and not just rent it.
We have another question. We have Stephanie, and she's asking, drawing interest to these properties to invest in, how have you done that? How have you gotten people to be interested in investing in these properties?
Okay. Well, that hasn't really happened yet. I'm hoping that these presentations with Preservation of Wilson, and then the students are here this week from UNC Greensboro to work on the houses. So maybe if you ride around and you see people working on things, you might become kind of nosy and be like, oh, what are you doing over there, right? So hopefully these presentations and getting the knowledge and the understanding of this amazing African-American district that maybe a lot of people from Wilson didn't know that it was an African-American district. Maybe getting that knowledge out there, more people will become interested about saving their community.
Okay, we have another question from Perry. What is one thing that we can do to urge our city leaders to help save the shotgun houses that we have left?
Well, I can say that Mayor Stevens has been a great resource for me. He has really been behind me and supporting me. So I would say within your district, I know I think it's Creech is the district person for that unit. So I say if you would show up, probably via Zoom now, but maybe show up to your town hall meetings and kind of voice your opinions. Because a lot of times people don't talk. Like, you have ideas in your head or you have solutions, but if they're not heard, then how can you make any changes? So I would say really get involved within your own community. Like, really say, okay, these houses need to be saved, or try to talk to somebody who has the same kind of mind frame you have, and maybe I can go together to a town hall meeting or via Zoom and really voice your opinion for the rest of these shotgun houses.
And another question that kind of can piggyback off of that one is, do you know if there are any policies currently in place that the city has implemented to help save any remaining homes? So is there anything already written?
No.
Okay. Okay. Another guest asks, I have inherited several homes from my once prominent family. What can I do next?
Are there historic homes?
Are they, Edwin, are these historic homes? Are you able to answer that in the chat? While he is responding.
Okay, well, John Wood, are there historic homes? He's in the audience tonight. He works for the State Preservation Office. He's a restoration specialist. So it is resources. Like, if you want to save your historic house, I know also the city of Wilson has a preservation kind of unit as well that can give you resources. But also look at the State Historic Preservation website and look at the restoration specialist for your area and contact them. And he has been right beside me, walking through my houses, telling me what I can do and what I can't do, giving me pointers and advice. And so if you have an historic home, it is resources out here for you to make sure that you keep that material and integrity intact and that you can move forward. Even, I mean, you can't do everything, but you can still make a beautiful, modern, updated home and it be historic.
And he'll actually be participating in a webinar about historic credits and incentives that you can get and put in place on July 10th. Another question. Are there any opportunities where regular people could come and help or visit the homes you're working on?
Yes, you can email me and I can put my email address in the chat if you want to come and just kind of see what I have done thus far. Still a work in progress, but it's moving forward. So if you want to see what I've done thus far, you can put on our mask and go in the house.
Let's see. Edwin replied about the homes that he has inherited, that they are historic homes in the old Darden, near the old Darden High School. And Jillian Ward is asked, she says she lives in a shotgun home, and what is the name of the historic form?
Okay, so the district is the East Woodson Historic District. You can find that if you just type in East Woodson, North Carolina, you can pop up. The city of Woodson has a really nice historic kind of district map overlay, and also the preservation website, Preservation of Woodson, has a nice overlay of all the districts within Woodson as well. And so if you just kind of Google East Woodson Historic District, it will bring up the nomination form. You can know all the houses that he surveyed in 1988 and all those addresses as well.
And Alicia asks, where are the homes located that you'll be working on this week?
They're located on Ash Street. So Nash Street and then Ash is right behind Pender. So Ash Street and then Narrowway. And if you drive by, you won't miss us. We'll be outside. I'm doing a lot of things.
What days?
The whole week.
Every
we
day.
start at 9 o'clock in the morning and we're gonna work to 4. So you can just drive on by and we wave at you from inside the house or outside the house.
Okay. I think that so far we've answered all of the questions that have come in online. Okay.
Thank you, Alicia.
Alicia said she'll try to stop by with her mask on. Okay, so
I did
the
provide
email
my
is
email in the
in the
chat.
chat. Here, I'll copy and paste it again.
Okay.
Okay, it's mtdavis4@uncg.edu.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you.
So if nobody else has any questions, we will conclude this wonderful webinar by Monica Davis. And wanted to thank the Field School Program for joining us, the UNCG Field School Program, and thank Calvary Presbyterian Church for letting us host this event tonight. And if there's nothing else, we will sign off. Thank you and have a great night.